Ready to hear more from storyteller Gail Ross? In this visit at the Museum of Native American History in Bentonville, Arkansas, Gail will tell us a Cherokee creation story called The First Fire.
In the beginning days of the world, everything was water. There was nothing here but a great ocean, and all creatures that lived in the world above. But it was becoming crowded in the upper world, and Creator told all the beings that he would make a middle world, a world that would exist in the balance between the world of perfect order, the world above, and the world of total chaos, the world below. And all creatures were anxious to come and live in this middle world, and so they began to go down and see if the middle world was ready. Every day, a different bird would fly down from the world above, fly in all four directions across the face of the water, and one by one they would return to say, "There's no place to build a home." And finally, the little water beetle flew down. And when he had flown in all four directions across the water, he was tired. And he rested for a while, floating on top of the water. And the idea came to him, I wonder what is underneath the water. So, gathering all his strength, he dove and swam all the way to the bottom of the sea. And there was mud there. So he scooped up a tiny handful of that mud, brought it back, and set it floating on top of the water. And that little handful of mud stretched and grew and stretched and grew until it became this continent that we walk upon. But it was still soft, soft mud. You couldn't walk on the land. So once again, the birds began to fly. Every day, a different bird would fly down, fly in all four directions across the land, and return to say that the earth is still too soft. And then it was Buzzard's turn to fly. And when Buzzard had flown in all four directions and found that the earth was still soft, he grew angry and impatient. And he began flying very close to the earth, making a wind with his wings. And where his wings struck the earth, the valleys were carved. And where his wings rose, the tall mountains grew. And if you travel to the Cherokee homeland, you will see those beautiful mountains that Buzzard created for us on that day. And now all creatures came down from the world above to make a home. Now, Creator said, I have hung this world from the four corners of the sky with 4 silver cords. Walk in balance. Live in balance. Or someday those 4 cords may snap and the land will sink back beneath the sea. Now, grandmother's son, she agreed to leave her home above the sky vault and walk a path through the heavens, bringing her light to this world. And her brother, Uncle Moon, he brought his soft and gentle light to the evening sky. But even with Grandmother Sun in the heavens by day and Uncle Moon smiling at night, the world was still cold. There was no fire. Now Thunder knew that fire would make the world a better place. And so he sent lightning to strike a hollow tree on an island in the middle of a great lake. And the first fire was kindled there, and the smoke rose into the heavens. And all of the birds and animals, they gathered on the shore of that lake. And everyone wanted to be the one to bring back the fire from that island. And finally, it was decided the wisest should go. And that was Grandmother Owl. Now, she flew to the island, but as wise as she was, she had no experience with the nature of fire. She flew straight to the top of that tree, perched there, and looked down. Just as a gust of smoke and ash blew up through that tree like it was a chimney, and the smoke burned Grandmother Owl's eyes, and the ashes made white rings on her face. And she flew back without the fire. Next, the strongest was chosen, and that was Bear. Bears are good swimmers. He swam to the island. And he had learned from Grandmother Owl. He did not climb to the top of the tree. He circled the base until he found a great split there. And he squeezed himself inside, where the fire was burning bright and hot, and the air was full of smoke and ash. Bear began to cough and choke, and before he could back out of that tree, he had been burned black from the tip of his nose to the tip of his tail. And the bear in the Smoky Mountains is black to this day. And sometimes you hear him give these funny, rumbling little coughs. He's still trying to clear all that smoke and ash out of his throat. Now, many creatures tried, and many creatures failed. And then they heard one tiny little voice speaking up. It was the little water spider. Now, everyone laughed at her because she was so small, but she insisted she had the right to try, and so they let her go. She danced across to the island, and she didn't rush in as the others had done. She sat down outside that tree, and she began to spin her web thread, and she wove it around and around and around until she had made a little bowl. She took mud and lined the inside of that bowl and tied it to her back. And reaching in, she took one tiny coal of fire, placed it in her bowl, and danced back to the people. And they say from that tiny little coal of fire that Grandmother Spider carried on her back were all 7 sacred fires of the Cherokee people lit. Sacred fire burned in the townhouses of the 7 Cherokee peace towns, tended at all times. From the bowl that Grandmother Spider carried, why, the bowl was now hard, very hard from the fire, from the coal, the heat of that coal in the mud. It baked it hard. And that's how Cherokee women learned to make pottery. And when you look at little water spider today, you will still see the round white mark of the bowl she carried. It's her badge of honor. And when we see it, we should remember that the great gift of fire came not from the wisest, the bravest, the strongest, the swiftest, but from one of the smallest and gentlest of our animal brothers and sisters, Wado.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to watch the other videos on this page to learn how to make your own stories come to life and continue creating together.